Hello, my name is Darren Thomas, and I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. In this particular video, we're going to be trying to get insights into understanding how to read and comprehend academic textbooks. So let's go ahead and see what we can learn. Now, this is the overview of what we're going to be addressing. And so the main purpose behind this video is that students often struggle with understanding academic texts. And one of the main reasons they struggle is they dive right into the reading, and they don't take a moment to take a step back and to try to figure out how is the book shaped? How is the chapter shaped? How are sections shaped? How are paragraphs shaped? And having this bigger picture can help them to have placeholders, a way of organizing the information in their head so that for the things they understand, they have a sense of why they understand it. And more importantly, excuse me, for things they do not understand, they're able to identify the particular sections they're struggling with, and they're able to form questions so that they can get support from the teacher. I don't know too many teachers who expect a student to understand everything that they read. However, they expect you to understand something. They expect you to at least understand what you don't understand. And most teachers at the university level are willing to provide some support, at least if not through them directly, at least through their assistants or whatever. So on the screen, this is what we're looking at. We're going to be looking at the preface, really brief. I'm going to have a follow-up video on that one. Looking at the chapter titles, the objectives and the questions, looking at the headings within the chapter, examining the visuals, making some questions, and then reading and answering the questions that you make. Now, the purpose of a preface is sometimes called an introduction, is to try to provide like an overall scope of the book, the purpose of the book, the motivation behind writing it, the major sections. Often it has like a place for like thanking people and give you an idea into the insights that it took to develop the book, the background, if you will. But this is very, very important, especially for mature developed readers. If you are a mature developed reader, you might not have time to read the whole book. So the preface is almost like the abstract of the book. It helps a reader to determine, do I really want to sit down and spend time with this entire text? Or do I just want to get the highlights from the preface? The preface can also help you to figure out if maybe I don't want to read the whole book. Maybe I just want to read chapter 5, or maybe I want to take a closer look at chapter 12. I'm familiar with chapter 2. I don't need to look at that again. These are some of the things that a preface helps you to see. Students almost always skip this because it's not going to be on the quiz, but it robs you of your ability to comprehend what's going on when you skip these sort of things. But again, I'm kind of selling a future video. Now, another thing you want to do is, of course, when you're about to sit down and your teacher says read chapter 1, well, you want to look at, okay, what's the title of the chapter? It gives you an idea of what to expect in that particular chapter. And so here on the screen, we have a little picture from a book, screenshot, if you will. Oops, that's ugly. And this is just a real simple chapter right here, talking about teaching. That's what it's talking about right here. And so that's what we're looking at. We know that this first chapter is going to be focused on the principles of efficient teaching. That's what it's about. Now, once you've looked at the title of the chapter, which again, you would not believe how many students skip that. Like, it's very, very common. The next thing you want to look at is you want to get an idea of what are the chapter objectives. Sometimes they're objectives, sometimes they're questions. So down here at the bottom of this particular, whoa, that's really ugly. You get the point. Right here at the bottom of the screen, you can clearly see that we have some questions here that this chapter is going to address. Again, this helps to give you an idea of what to expect as you are reading. You know that you're going to be looking for answers to these questions. Again, the typical student has no idea what the objectives of the chapter are, what kind of questions the chapter is going to answer. They have no idea what they're looking for. Chapters are like anything else. A paragraph has the main idea, okay? Chapters have objectives. This is the singular most important thing that you need to remember when you walk away from this chapter. And so again, the author is telling you right here. So he or she is going to tell you what is an effective teacher. They're going to talk about some of the goals of effective teaching, etc. These are things that when you finish this chapter, you should be walking away with these things. They're almost like essential understandings for those of us who come from an education background. Now, after you have an idea of the chapter objectives or the chapter questions, you want to go through and you want to look at the individual headings within the chapter. And something that I've noticed, I can't say this applies for every book and every genre and every discipline, but the objectives at the beginning of the chapter, or the questions, whatever they are, these often show up as the major headings throughout the chapter. It's kind of a shortcut. It's very redundant. Again, I don't know too many students who have ever noticed this pattern, but this is something you need to be aware of. Let me go back. So if you look right here at the bottom of the screen, you can see we have a heading here. I'm going to try to draw this nice and neat. What is an effective teacher? This is one of the major questions addressed in this particular chapter. And if you look, voila, on this page, the first heading of a major section in this chapter is what is an effective teacher? It's right there back to back. It's very, very clear. And so again, as you're looking at the major headings, you are looking at the major parts or the major subtopics of this particular topic that the author considers important. Okay, so what's happening is this: you have your entire book, and that book is divided into topics. And then within each topic or chapter, there are subtopics called headings. And underneath each subtopic, there's a subtopic. In other words, the book is structured like an outline, and as you go deeper and deeper, you get more and more details about whatever you're looking at. So you have to keep in mind also, what is your unit of analysis? Are you looking at this in terms of the entire book? Okay, well then you're focused on the chapters. Are you looking within a chapter? You're focused on the headings. You really have to be cognizant of this. It helps to organize the information in your mind so that you can have success academically when you need to read a textbook. All right, and so then of course down here we have a subheading, or you call it a subheading, whatever you want to call it. So under effective teacher is something called clear lessons. Clear lessons is one trait of an effective teacher. That's how this is structured. And again, I wish I could actually show you the book, but alas. Now, something else that you need to keep in mind is also looking at the visuals. These could be bar graphs, these could be charts, these could be tables like the one on your screen. They could be all kinds of pictures. Textbooks rely heavily, especially at the undergrad level. I need to be careful with that. But textbooks rely heavily on visuals because it's another way to explain the same information that was presented in the text. So on the screen, you can see we have a table. Everything that is in this table was in the text somewhere as a paragraph. It's just another way of organizing the same information. For those of you who have an education background, you know we have different types of way of learning. It could be verbal, it could be listening, it could be visual, whatever. The reason they repackage this information as visuals is to find another way to reinforce this information inside your brain in addition to summarizing it. So again, these are things you need to be looking at. You need to look at the title of the chapter. You need to be looking at the objectives or the questions. You need to be looking at the headings. You need to be looking at the visuals. All these things work together to help you to comprehend the text. Now, once you've gone through this journey, you need to start looking through there and deciding for yourself, what's important for me? What information is critical for my success? Did the teacher mention anything that I need to make sure I understand as I go through this text? And so you need to start writing down questions. Okay, I don't quite understand what this heading is about, or I'm curious about this definition, or maybe I don't understand this visual. You start writing down questions for yourself. And then as you are reading the text, you answer the question that you have developed. Now, this helps to engage you and to provide purpose for your reading. You're not just reading to wander around. You're reading to answer your questions. Now, a time when you might not want to do this is if your teacher provides you with a study guide. If there's some sort of a study guide where they provide you with questions, you need to focus on answering those. So it really depends. However, you want to make sure, if I could give you an analogy, that you have a shopping list. Something that you're looking for as you are browsing the supermarket of the textbook. It gives you a sense of purpose and focus, and you don't start picking up things that are not on your list. That's kind of what we're trying to do right here. We must make sure that we are focused and engaged as we are reading, because it is very easy when reading academic literature, if you don't have a propensity towards academic studies, to get very bored and restless as you are trying to maneuver through the text. So let's recap and wrap up this particular video. So in this video, we were able to look at some insights into how you can engage and understand academic textbooks in particular. So we want to start by looking at the preface. If you've never touched the book before in particular, that helps you to figure out the purpose of the book and kind of give you a summary. Then when it's time to start looking at an individual chapter, you want to look at the title of the chapter, because this tells you the topic of the entire chapter. Then you want to break it down and you want to look at the objectives or the questions. What is this chapter trying to do, if they're objectives, or what questions is this chapter going to answer if they present them as questions? From there, you look at the headings, and remember, the headings and the objectives are often the same, not always. I need to be careful with that. After that, you want to engage the visuals. What type of picture are they using? Tables, charts, graphs, whatever. Next, we want to make some questions, and we want to read and answer those questions as we begin our journey through the text. This is one way of approaching your reading at the tertiary level, in particular the university level, when dealing with academic textbooks. So I want to thank you again for listening and watching. My name is Darren Thomas. I am the Director of Educational Research Techniques. Thank you for listening, and take care.